Was there a definitive good side in the Clone Wars? It's a simple question, but as anyone familiar with the conflict knows, it doesn't have a simple answer. In most Clone Wars era media, the Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order were typically presented as the protagonists, but as most of you already know, their actions weren't always morally justifiable, and the Republic ended up becoming the Empire. Some would claim that the Separatists, then, were the good guys of the Clone Wars, but the Confederacy of Independent Systems has its own share of morally reprehensible acts on its own hands. So which side, if either, was the better of the two? In this video, we'll be looking to answer that question.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
First up, we should clarify that not everyone sees eye to eye on issues of morality, and so for the sake of this video, we're going to be judging based on the established morality of the Star Wars universe, as has been extensively described by George Lucas. By this metric, the good guys would be those whose motives and actions essentially align with the light side of the Force, meaning they're selfless and work toward the greater balance of the Force, and of life in general. It's a simple metric, but it doesn't make the issue of the Clone Wars any less complicated. Let's start by taking a look at the Republic. Loyalists claim to be fighting for the survival of civilization itself. They saw the Separatist movement as a dark tide of barbarism that was sweeping across the galaxy, which only the Republic could stand against. But that narrative was deeply flawed, and it indeed exposes some unpleasant biases that many loyalists held. The Separatists weren't barbarians, and it can even be construed as somewhat speciest to claim as such, as the Confederacy was disproportionately non-human, something humanocentrists exploited during the war to promote their vile causes. At the end of the day, the Republic wasn't fighting for civilization, it was fighting for its own civilization, a civilization dominated by the rich and mostly human core worlds. At best, loyalists believed this civilization was the best option the galaxy had, and at worst, they simply wanted to continue the core's brutal exploitation of the Outer Rim. A lot of the Galactic Senate fell into the latter category, with many senators actively profiting from the brutalization of worlds that seceded and thus motivated by a desire to keep that money flowing. The Republic ultimately was fighting against change. Loyalists, for one reason or another, wanted the status quo that had existed before the Separatist crisis to continue, at least for a time. The problem was that the status quo actively hurt trillions of beings. Even as the Republic formally stood against slavery, it willingly turned a blind eye to massive trafficking rings and the species-based slavery of the Senex and Juvex sectors. It failed to protect many Rim worlds from piracy, even as its powerful members exploited many of those same systems worse than any pirate gang ever could have. It imposed the cultures and traditions of the core worlds on most of the galaxy, in many cases erasing or denying representation to other cultures that didn't conform to either. The Republic was wholly beholden to the core, which got special treatment at all levels of government, at massive cost to the rest of the galaxy. And that's all without mentioning the elephant in the room. The Republic maintained an army of slaves. When presented with a fighting force of sentient beings, individuals with their own hopes and dreams, who were being sold as products and had been created specifically for the purpose of dying horribly, the Republic accepted it without question. The Republic didn't even consider the morality of such an act. The Senate never had a debate over whether or not it was wrong to strip millions of sentients of all their rights and force them to go to war. Instead, they debated how many of these slaves they could afford. It's also worth noting that most beings who supported the Republic cheered its transformation into the Empire, which was, without a doubt, one of the most evil factions in galactic history, responsible for a long list of rights abuses and atrocities. That's because those abuses and atrocities began under the Republic. The Coruscant Guard began violently suppressing the alien population of Coruscant within days of the Battle of Geonosis, and many loyalists reacted to this by calling for more of the same. The Republic became the Empire long before Palpatine made it official. To be honest, it says a lot about what the Republic really stood against that many loyalists preferred fascism to simple change. So, what about the Confederacy? Did the CIS truly do nothing wrong? The short answer to that is no, and the long answer to that is also no. As the Separatists would have put it, the CIS stood for independence from the Republic and freedom for its member worlds. The problem with that is the freedom that a lot of Separatists wanted was really just freedom to be able to do some pretty terrible things. And suffice it to say, there was a reason the Sith chose to openly lead the Confederacy. Now, the Confederacy is harder to analyze than the Republic because it was much less of a cohesive whole. The Confederacy of Independent Systems was exactly that. A loosely affiliated net of local governments that had broken off from the Republic. It cannot be stressed enough that the various systems making up the CIS often had radically different reasons for seceding than their neighbors did, with wildly varying degrees of validity. Some systems like Zygeria, the various corporate worlds, and Trandosha seceded because, as aforementioned, the Confederacy would turn a blind eye to the terrible things the Republic had prevented them from doing. But many others seceded for good reason. As we mentioned earlier, the Outer Rim had been badly oppressed by the Republic, especially by the core worlds, and those systems were well within their rights to secede. However, those causes were ultimately tainted by the larger cause they allied themselves with. At the end of the day, the Confederacy was pretty open about how it mostly operated on behalf of the corporations that were represented on the Separatist Council. And no matter how righteous the causes of some Separatists may have been, it was indefensible to support the Separatist Council. The corporations on the Separatist Council were fighting exclusively for profit, and they were outright eager to commit atrocities if there was a fat paycheck waiting for them at the end. What the core worlds did to the Rim was terrible, but it was nothing compared to what the likes of the Commerce Guild regularly did to planets. The freedom the Separatist Council wanted, which the Republic denied, was the freedom to effectively enslave wide swaths of the galaxy. Put simply, neither the Republic nor the Confederacy were the good guys in the Clone Wars. Both governments were fighting for somewhat reprehensible reasons, even if many of their supporters were decent people and had more righteous motives. We'll refrain from saying that both the Republic and the Confederacy were evil, because it's just not that simple, but both were definitely darker shades of grey than their supporters would ever have admitted. But in case you haven't noticed, this video isn't over, and that's because we have some smaller groups and third parties to look at as well. First off, what about the Jedi? The Jedi Order wasn't necessarily fighting for the same reasons as the Republic. At first, before Dooku was revealed as a Sith, they were simply out to prevent war, and once Dooku was revealed as Sith, they were fighting to stop the Sith. Fighting the Sith is a decently righteous cause, but as with the Separatists who had good causes, the Jedi nonetheless supported far more reprehensible causes as well. Dooku himself put it best when talking about Yoda. He no longer sees all the little cumulative evils that the Republic tolerates and fosters, from slavery to endless wars, and he never asks, why are we not acting to stop this? Living alongside corruption for too long, and you will no longer notice the stench. While Dooku was specifically talking about Yoda in this issue, it's an accurate assessment of the Jedi Order as a whole too. The Jedi had gotten just too close to the Republic, and they willingly ignored its many serious flaws. In doing so, they shifted away from the path of the light. Instead of defending the balance of the Force, they allowed the dark side to chip away at that balance bit by bit, as the dark side was acting through the very Republic they had ceased to hold accountable. While the Jedi who survived Order 66 almost exclusively opposed the Empire, they had been fighting for that Empire right up until it turned on them.
With your help, the Jedi can stop Sidious before it's too late.
Too late? For what? The Republic to fall? It already has, and you just can't see it. There is no justice, no law, no order, except for the one that will replace it.
There were also factions that participated in the Clone Wars who sided with neither the Republic nor the Confederacy. Chief among them were the Hutts, who, as always, maintained neutrality but were willing to work with both sides. The Hutts, of course, were considerably worse than both the Republic and the Confederacy. Their motivations were the same as the Separatist Councils, but turned up to 11. Combine this with unabashed slavery and the brutal oppression of anyone that wasn't a Hutt, and you've got perhaps the most immoral system possible. There's also the Shadow Collective, the criminal alliance formed by Maul in a bid to challenge both the Republic and the CIS. They weren't in the right either. The criminal groups he gathered were criminals for good reason, and his only non-criminal supporters, the Night Sisters and Night Brothers of Dathomir, fought for Mother Talzin's selfish desire for power and revenge. Maul himself was no saint either, and while his analysis of the state of the galaxy was spot on, he was still only in it for his own gain. Everyone who fell under the banner of the Shadow Collective was perfectly willing to let innocents die to enhance their own power, and they frequently murdered such beings themselves. Like with the Hutts and the Separatist Council, they were simply out for money, power, and/or petty revenge. Everyone else be damned. And lastly, there's one final group we've yet to consider, the Sith. I'm sure many of you have seen it argued that Palpatine did nothing wrong. In many ways, the Empire was designed to fight off the Yuuzhan Vong, a threat he knew was coming well before anyone else did. But that doesn't excuse the Clone Wars. It's true that a conflict was needed to remilitarize the Republic and allow the Empire to truly form, but Sidious deliberately drew the Clone Wars out and inflicted as much suffering on the galaxy as he could. He cared less about stopping the Vong than he cared about making himself the most powerful being in the galaxy. He was deeply evil from childhood, and he was never motivated by concern for anyone other than himself. But even if stopping the Vong was the only reason for what he did, it doesn't change the fact that Sidious made the Clone Wars far, far worse than they had to be. The Clone Wars may not have had a definitive good guy, but they did have a definitive bad guy, and that guy was Darth Sidious. So there we have it. There was no good side in the Clone Wars, even if there was definitely a bad side. But that doesn't mean that none of the people that fought in the conflict were good people fighting for good reasons. There were plenty of them on both sides. The causes they supported were merely corrupt beyond repair. But what do you think? Would you have supported the Republic or the Confederacy? Or would you have supported a different faction we mentioned in this video? Please let us know in the comment section below. And guys, just before you go, if you want to join our wider and epic Star Wars community, make sure you check out all the links in the description below, including our Discord server, where you can chat to myself and other Star Wars fans, our Geetsly's gaming network, where you can join us on servers such as Jedi vs Sith and the Clone Wars server, and the Patreon if you want to help support the channel more than you already are by watching this video. Anyways guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.